The hit NBC show, Who Do You Think You Are? You see just how important your past and your family tree can be in forming your identity.
And the same historians who dug up the roots of celebrities like Sarah Jessica Parker, Martin Sheen, and Blair Underwood recently found out who our Kim Covington really is.
Kim, you just got back from sharing that research with your family. What an incredible journey that must have been.
Yeah, it was, and it was an emotional trip that gave us information we didn't know how to look for, and quite frankly, we were afraid to look for. But as the saying goes, truth does really set you free. Wow, I'm home. There's the arch. Many say you take your life into your own hands when you cross from St. Louis to East St. Louis, Illinois. But that's my home. And this is my old neighborhood where my siblings and I played plenty of kickball in the street. I remember when my dad rehabbed this house. It was as small as the house across the street. Had a lot of great memories in this house. Our lives have progressed and are about to change even more. My family and I are close. My mom and dad have been married for over 50 years. He's a retired GM plant supervisor. My mom, a retired teacher. My brother is an executive director for a community college program. My older sisters who moved away count their blessings too, as a longtime dentist and physical therapist. Lives full of success and love. But like most African-American families, there were empty holes we thought could never be filled. Until now. How much do you know about your dad and his side of the family?
Not a whole lot about my dad, but I do know from what people have told me that he was an excellent blacksmith.
His name was Roosevelt Covington, and he died when my dad was 11. We longed to find out more about him and how we came to be.
I really don't know either, really, and I don't know where to look.
But Ancestry.com researchers can give us a head start. They have 8 billion historical records, including census reports that date back to 1790. Through it, we now have a snapshot of who we are.
And this is where the Covingtons were living. And if you come down here, you can see the Covington family. And here is Joseph, your second great-grandfather.
Your grandfather was Joseph Covington.
Wow.
One of the first born in Carroll County, Mississippi. But his parents,
Hannah Covington, were likely born enslaved.
This 1870 census is the first report that lists the first names of former slaves. They had 14 children, but 7 of them died. Hannah was right there with them, picking cotton with all those kids. Wow. And guess who else they may have been picking cotton with?
His name is Elmer Winfrey.
Like Oprah Winfrey? They were all working in the same area, working on the same farm. Wow. They were like buddies.
Her family tree goes back to the exact same place that your family tree goes to.
Wow.
On that direct Winfrey line, and the Covingtons coming together in Carroll County, Mississippi. I
revealed to them that Ephraim was likely shipped to Mississippi from Maryland, where he was separated from his parents, sold and bought by a slaveholder, possibly named W.N. Covington. That's how we got our name. They believe it was from the slave master. But there was slow progress. Ephraim and Hannah moved out of that crowded house as sharecroppers and were eventually able to rent their own farm. And while they could not read and write, a later census shows their children could. Now we know a little bit about who we are. History we only read about is now our reality.
It really didn't surprise me.
But now
I was really expecting worse, really, And I guess I shouldn't have expected worse, but the way things were when I was a child, what I had to experience.
What was that you had to experience?
You had to ride in the back of the bus.
Painful history that is somehow healing, too.
We carry this multi-generational kind of trauma, and we can't label it. We can't define it. And so that makes us incomplete emotionally. This is a therapeutic step to closure for me as an individual.
They were hard workers, and that is carried through from generation to generation because your dad is such a hard worker. You're always the ones who never give up, determined to do.
They always said Covington's don't quit.
Didn't quit. And even though situations may be hard, you're overcomers.
Even though Covington, we now know Covington is not our real name, does that help you?
To me, it doesn't matter what my name is, it's what I am.
These DNA tests can take us beyond our names and recorded history. It can trace our lineage all the way back to the early origins of civilization, which will more than likely place us somewhere in Africa. Our story is to be continued.
And while we wait for the DNA results, we continue to work to fill in the rest of the holes. And Facebook and Twitter are proving to be helpful, as several Covingtons have friended me. So we'll see, Mark and Linsu.
Oh, what a great family you have, Kim.
Thank you.
Coming up after the break, we'll introduce you to a whole family.